Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. Guess what? We're back with more Conquest models. The other day we were building our oxen-headed, undead, armored zombie minotaur things for the Old Dominion, and you guys gave me at least 4 different pronunciations in the comment section. So we're going to go with another nicely named set of models for the city-states. Now, this is one of the newer First Blood Warband sets. We've got faction teasers, we've got these First Blood starter sets. There's just a bunch of different model compositions out there, and I mean, I was like commenting on one of these and I basically talked myself into picking one up. These are such a good deal if you're just interested in even trying the game. First of all, Bellum has really stepped up with the more recent versions of First Blood. It's not really just an afterthought. It is a much more tight skirmish game. Yes, I opened it a little bit. I was curious what's inside. But let me explain why these are such a cool deal. Number one, you do get a rule book, but you also get quite a variety of models. So in this, we've got 4 of the satyrs. We've got 2 resin leader models. Every starter faction, teaser, warband, whatever you want to call it, is going to come with one of the monstrous infantry scale figures as well. In the case of the city-states, we get one of the minotaurs. And then you have another selection of infantry, as well as at least one of those infantry sets is going to be a dual kit. So in this case, we've got the satyrs. We can actually build them with both close combat and with a ranged option. I want to say, what were these, the Thorakites or something? I don't remember. It's probably got the name on there. They had an optional build with a different type of blade. Here we go. So, you have the Aristarch, I don't know, the Lochagos, It's been a long day. We just started school and I'm trying to remember how to talk like a human. Yeah, we're just gonna... These are the fawn models, and then the Agema and the Thorakites. I know this is very Greek in terms of where these names are coming from, whereas I know we've got a lot of Romanesque names for the Old Dominion, which is totally interesting. And you got your First Blood Quick Start Guide in here too. Of note as well, these guys have everything you need to eventually upgrade to the full-scale skirmish stuff. So, upon opening this, and the same can be said for just about all of these different various starters. So obviously the more later ones of the original factions have a different makeup in terms of what models are in there than the newer stuff, but I do believe there's already been a city-state starter that had totally different stuff in it. I think it had the hoplites, and I don't remember what else. So here you can see this is one of the Minotaurs. I've been wanting to get one of the actual living Minotaurs, so this was a nice alternative way to get a hold of one without having to buy an entire unit. I haven't fully committed yet to the Old Dominion, or not Old Dominion, I'm pretty much all in with them. What I meant to say was I am not fully committed yet to the city-states stuff. So it is nice to get a cool little sampling, and I really just wanted to build a Minotaur. I do appreciate the fact that even though we don't have the command sprue, you do have a bit of options here. So it's not like you're just delegated to only have one version to build for these kits. You do have some options on that sprue, even though you only got one model. Okay, the Thorakites look very familiar. I do want to say that is the unit leader shield, and I believe there were some various head crests that were included, so the fact, I want to say that one might have been, and he had like some extra feathers, like reminding me of like an Iberian or something of a more historical nature, and I think that might be one of the, yeah, unit commanders there with the stag horns on his helmet. So you can see you have both of the types of close combat weapons. I forget what the difference was, if it was just the blades. I think one unit had the shoulder pads, one did not. We'll get to the instructions hopefully at the bottom. Okay, this is a new sprue for me, the Satyrs sprue. I'm curious, do we have a different one, or is it the same for both? It looks like it's going to be the exact same. It's always worth checking to find out, but you're going to have 4 on each sprue. It looks like we've got quite a bit of options. It has enough to build them either way, and I'm noticing it seems like, okay, There's a couple of extra pieces. I wonder if we have the unit leader stuff in here. I'm guessing that looks an awful lot like either a standard or a leader's shield. I have no idea, judging from the back of it. But again, look at the crispness of these figures. I was painting some of the older Nord models, and I'm like, it's hard to tell where some things start and some things stop. I really feel like Archon has just knocked it out of the park in terms of their casting ability. And the quality of these models continues to always, go up the longer the game's around, and that's always a good thing for everybody. Okay, you got all of your command cards that are necessary. You will use these cards to determine initiative and all those kinds of fun things, if I remember correctly, for both versions of the game. You can see here we have, I think that's the Lochagos. I don't remember their names. And we have the other guy. I'll pull out all the cards in a sec. Infantry stand. So all of the units in the big, full-blown Last Argument of Kings version of Conquest, everybody's got the unit bases for like rank and file type stuff, which includes also all of the cavalry and heavy infantry and monsters. Whereas these are the newer versions of the infantry bases. And what's really cool about these newer ones is you'll notice they have that indentation already built into the base for magnets. So if you wanted to magnetize everything and not worry about them falling off of the bases, here you can see a regular base. Voila, you are good to go if you have all of said ingredients. Maybe, just maybe, Conquest might be the game that finally makes me return to playing mass combat stuff. I haven't done it yet, but, there's still hope. Okay. You get a little bit of a blurb about everything, how to build up a possible force. As you can see, we've got cavalry, we've got spearmen, we've got our satyrs over here. I like how our the polemark is like the same size as the giant. That's kind of funny. Isn't it the Hephaestion? I believe so. Yeah, so city-states have quite a lot, and they have even more stuff coming. We have like the Blessed Troops or something, which are like all decked out in heavy armor and vaguely Argonaut style, with one guy even looking to take like Hercules type place with a lion skin he's wearing. We've got the Clockwork Troops coming. They've got like their Talos guy. There's a lot of stuff here that they have access to. I do appreciate, this is the first time I've built one of these sets, and it's nice to have the resin models represented. I mean, I know it's not the most complicated, and I've been building models for a whole long time, but it is cool to see for people who are more new to this stuff. Showing you some of the variations on the guys you can make. And character resin parts. Oh, I guess this is just showing some of the extra stuff. I don't know what the point of that is. Anyway. So if you did want to build either or, the Thorakites or the Agema, it shows here how to do that. And I guess it's just the helmet and the swords that are different. Oh, the Agema have the cloaks, whereas the Thorakites do not as well. We've got our instructions for the Satyr, for our Minotaur. So it's all there. Nice to see. This is a little bit of a different guidebook for First Blood. I haven't actually seen this one. I have a big fat manual, but this looks pretty quick and to the point, whereas it also does not seem to have a lot of the stats already in there, but that's okay because you can get everything online, so you don't need to worry about that. So that is a nice little touch. All the stats, I think they've updated and changed as the game has moved on as well. I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I've gotten into the meat and potatoes of the rules. But do be aware, there are slight differences, but if this is a nice little quick start guide, hopefully it is enough. Not that I don't have multiples, considering all the other factions I bought. But this looks like a fun, reasonably priced way to get into a faction if you're curious about the game. So I'm going to get these guys started up, and hopefully we will get to show you the results soon enough. And if you want to see those, sit tight. All right, we got our city-state boys all put together here. Start off with the resins, and for somebody like me who's dabbled in just about every single faction at this point for the game, these guys right here are basically almost the cost of entry alone, with most of the resin hero models tending to run about $20+ The fact that for just a little more we're getting the starter set, to me, is a fantastic deal. Starter, taster, I forget the official title of it, and I don't have the box handy anymore because I threw it away. But the resins themselves, I'm just knocking everybody over, really nice, really sharp, clearly detailed. They're going to look nice with all the other figures. And personally, even if you're not a fan of, you know, collecting just massive piles of characters for rank and file type games, I just enjoy painting like the hero character models for stuff like this as it is. Trying to see, I can't tell if those are supposed to be support. Oh yeah, it's the bottom jaw of the snake, never mind. He does still have a human arm in there. Oftentimes these guys from the city-states tend to have cybernetic parts replacing them. So it's nice that our Aristarch and our Lochagos are still basically in one piece. Can't say the same for the human infantry, the Agema and the Thorakites. I think I've talked about those before. So a lot of these guys actually have cybernetic limbs, and I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure which is which. I know there's going to be a differentiation in both the headdress on their helmets and the capes that they wear. Now, I didn't actually attach any capes to the human infantry that I've been building, and I don't know where his base is. In fact, I don't know where a lot of bases are for my Conquest models. I have to go back and look into that. I mean, it's really obvious that is not a flesh and blood arm, and yeah, I know I need to clean these up. It's always nice to have them on camera to see those issues. Now, I do have some of them painted up, quite sloppily, but that's okay. For nice, quick battles, I think that's going to be fine, especially from a distance. And keeping in mind that we have a very nice, thick zoom lens on at the moment while we film these. Of note is the fact that these capes are actually specifically keyed to each body. They're going to attach right underneath the shoulder pads. Doesn't really matter where you position the shoulder pads. It's going to be the indentations on the backside of their armor that are going to be key in figuring out where things go. And you can see here, quite obviously, he does not have a human arm here. So again, the big difference. At first I thought it was the blades. Obviously these guys have very straight swords, whereas these have a bit of a curve to them. But even then, like, the instructions weren't really clear, at least with these models. I feel like the instructions with the actual separate release of the human infantry might have had something different in there, but I could be wrong. And speaking of can't finding things, I have no idea where I put all of my hoplites and various other infantry and hero models at this point, because I've done a couple resins for my city-states, as well as like the big Inquisitor monstrosity with multiple arms and maces and stuff. Setting those to the side. Yeah, here's another random. Maybe we already saw him. I don't even remember now. Let's start taking a look at some of the satyrs. So here is the Satyroy, which would be, if I'm saying that correctly, Satyroy. I like this guy with the cloth covering up his face. Quite furry feet. Not 100% sure I built the shields right, but then again, they have the ropes on the outside like this on a bunch of them, but then they don't sit flush on the arm. So I'm not 100% sure which way is the correct way to attach the shields, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. And if you're curious, they are roughly human-sized. They might be a tad bit larger. I did, because I can't help myself, build up the boss man with the extra big horns and the extra pointy spear and the extra fancy shield as well. One issue I have with these guys is they really barely touch the base. You can see here, he's really not got a lot of real estate going on there. Some models are a little bit better than others. And I do like the fact that there are a lot of different head varieties. And from what I can tell, the arms and the heads pretty much are just multi-use. You can swap them around pretty easily. I don't see them being a huge issue if you don't end up following the directions in that regard. I'm never a big fan of 1 foot on the base. Never have been, doubt I ever will be. I feel like, I don't know, he's like swinging that down in an arc or something. He's like sighting it downwards. I can't tell what he's doing. If he's just charging, getting ready to attack, I don't know. These guys, if you're going to be doing rank and file with them, I think are going to be a real challenge in making sure that everybody is clearly and completely on their base, because they're just kind of going every direction. So I only have 4 of them because obviously for the Satyroid, if that's the right name, the Selenoi are the archer ones, which I thought were just kind of just as fun as well. I'm not a big fan of some of the hand positions, and especially the fact that we're going to have to be stuck with those running legs as well for one of the bodies. I tried to make sure that, you see, like, this is the hand that's supposed to go with this. I'm assuming he's like kind of getting the bow drawn before firing as he's rushing forward into position. I don't really know. I was going to say, I do like the fact that there are so many different head varieties and weapon varieties that you really can mix and match to your heart's content. So we've got different types of infantry, different types of support models. You know, use them as light skirmishers, use them as archers, and then besides that, all that, we've got our big, bulky Minotaur. And again, unfortunately, I don't know where his actual base is. He does not fit this one at all. And besides the fact that he's a little bit lopsided here, I'm not a big fan of when models have tons of pieces hanging off the base like this. That mace of his is just absolutely massive, and so is the door that seems to have been reappropriated as a shield now, which seems fitting. If you're curious just how large these Minotaurs are, the Bestiarum miniatures were a gold standard for Minotaurs for me for a very long time, and pretty much still are, but the fact that our plastic friend here is just about to bowl him over is quite the feat, I feel. While they may not be as tall as some of the other crazy stuff from Conquest, like, let's say, an Avatara, they are still pretty good-sized models. You can't even see the whole Avatara there. That might be a little bit better. Trying to keep all of the late-day sunlight dripping down here out of the way. Bonk. So yeah, getting a human-sized model from Conquest. You can see even then, this is just an absolute piece of beef ready to just rock the table. The fact that you at least get one of these, you get a whole ton of variety of infantry, you get those resin hero models for whatever the faction is that you're into. It's just a really cool way of getting your feet wet with a game like this. And I mean, honestly, I don't see a whole lot of other companies doing stuff like what Bellum is with Conquest. I mean, Mantic tried, kind of stopped for a while. When it was the last time Games Workshop had everything that you needed to play basically included for a reasonable price for one player as a skirmish game? It's been a while, but, you know, at least some of their other games started like that. No, don't fall over, friend. You're going to. Maybe they can prop you up. So, yeah, it may be not the largest model count if you are in the market for something like that, but the variety of stuff you get, and this isn't even everybody that was included here, And the fact that, I mean, you got all you need. You got a bit of variety in terms of getting ready to play with these starter sets, taster sets, whatever they want to call it, skirmish, warbands. For every single faction in the game at this point. And you've got all the rules included. And they're also free online if you want to check it out, as well as all the various, you know, army lists and things like that and background lore. It's a great way to check out the game. So we'll have that link down below, as always. And hopefully, maybe you'll find one that looks interesting to you and you'll want to get started on one of these sets as well. So, with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.